आज के कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करते हैं गुफ्तगू से. If that took you back into time, my friends, well, it's time to say hello. And this is Sheila Chaman. I started off with Doordarshan as a presenter and then graduated to being a bilingual presenter. And slowly, as time went past, I went into doing programs. And it's not easy to join Doordarshan, let me tell you. I began in 1975. Before I do that, let me tell you how the book came about. The book was initiated by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Publications Division. The Director General PD, Publications Division, called me and said, Sheila ji, with your expertise and experience, I'm sure it will make for interesting reading for readers to know how Doordarshan, the largest television channel in the country, came about. It is the motherboard, and mother of all television channels in the country, because every single channel that we see today, the hundreds of channels that you see today, have all come out from there. So the mother channel is Doordarshan. And I was told, can you write about the evolution, transition, and transformation of this wonderful channel from black and white to color, and all that went into it, and how you guys managed in those days with very little amenities. And it was a struggle to do so without too many hi-fi, Wi-Fi things. So I gave it a thought and I said, such a big, vast subject cannot be handled or reported by one single person. So I went down memory lane, contacted my old contacts, colleagues, seniors, juniors from various departments. Because in Doordarshan or any television channel, there are very many departments which need to be represented. The engineering, the programming, the presentation, news editing, video editing, and so much more. And of course, we had Krishi Darshan, we had sports, we had LPTs, that is low power transmitters, then later on DD Metro opened, etc., etc. So to collect all this and put it into one book for a reader is of historical value. And that's exactly what this book is. This book, Doordarshan Diaries, The Golden Era of Television, put in place by 10 of us who are part of that golden era. Why I call it the golden era, I shall just enunciate in a little while from now. So 10 people from various departments got together and have written for this book. Two of whom, unfortunately, passed away immediately after contributing to the book. Two are 85 plus. One is very ill. So you can understand all the intellectual property and all the wisdom and all the information of how things were then, all that history and intellectual property is with us and with those who have passed. So we are lucky to have captured all this and encapsulated it into words and brought it into this book. So let me begin from the beginning. Well, my story is I joined television in 1975. But before that, television began in 1959, 15th September 1959. That's the first slide. This
Yes.
was Doordarshan, launched on 15th September 1959. And slowly, the very first news bulletin that was telecast was a 10-minute bulletin produced by Shri Swadesh Kumar of All India Radio and edited by the first editor of the very first bulletin of 10 minutes duration by Dr. Govind Gunte and read by the very first Hindi newsreader, Miss Pratima Puri. If some of you remember, well, if you don't, your parents would or your grandparents would. And she was a very popular newscaster of her time, a Hindi news anchor, very popular and very articulate, very staid, very dignified. And I think a lot of us have emulated her. So the black and white days were when we had to be very careful with how we dressed, because there were you couldn't see colors like you can see here. You can see the pink and you can see the white, and you can see the contrasts. So the clothes had to be very carefully chosen, and the makeup had to be a little darker than normal, which means we had to put slightly more rouge, slightly darker lipstick, but lipstick was always matte finish, never shiny. So after we put our lipstick, we used to use a tissue paper to remove the flash, to remove the gloss. Otherwise, when you talk on television, and if I'm giving the news, well, last night the president said this, then you're looking more at the gloss on my lips, and it's very distracting. So we had to be very careful, and those were the days of no makeup, hardly any makeup, no danglers, no open hair. As you can see, we all had to have our hair collected, calm, cool, composed, collected. Well, I don't want to talk about today's newscasters. So the difference is we had unspoken rules about how to dress for television. Well, let me go to the next slide, which is after this, after the black and white era came the color era, which was on 15th August 1982. There was hectic activity uh, when the medium went color, live, and national for the first time. And I was called, I was invited, because meanwhile I had moved over from presentation to doing interviews and interviewing very big personalities from various countries in Hindi, English, Urdu, because I speak 9 languages. So जब हम बात करते हैं तो अगर उर्दू के तलफ़्फ़ुज़ बात करते हैं तो नुक्ता सही लगना चाहिए. There is no word as khair, it's khair. There's no word as nagma, it's nagma. So the nuktas had to be correct. Pronunciation had to be correct. Diction had to be correct. So when the bosses that were there at that time, the DG and all, they felt that Sheila Chaman could deliver Hindi, Angrezi, Urdu mein, I was invited to be the face of the first transmission and first telecast in color on 15th August 1982. And the logo went into color, everything went into color, and what I have written in the book about that time, I would like to read for you from the book, when the medium went color and live. A brief so that you get a taste of what the book contains and all that it has to say. Significant changes were also in store for Doordarshan the coming years. On 1st April 1976, Doordarshan separated from Akashvani and an independent directorate was set up for it. It was presented before its audiences with a new image, its changed logo created by a team of students from the National Institute of Design, and a new signature tune composed by Pandit Ravi Shankar in association with Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab. So that was how we went into color. But I'm talking about 15th August 1982, when we first went, when the first color telecast went on the air. I would like to go back a little to before the color came into being, as to how difficult it was for us to read from pages. Let me go back to the black and white era. Oh, well, before I even went on to 15th August, I was asked to come and do a program to prove myself after being a presenter, to prove myself if I could do programming. So I wrote to the producer of the program and I said I'd like to come and do this program, Mirror of the World, because I used to watch Pamela Sehgal, who was a very articulate and a very captivating communicator on television, on Doordarshan. It was not Doordarshan at that time. It was known as Indian Television or Television of India. Doordarshan बहुत बाद में उसका नाम आया. It was christened Doordarshan much later. So I wrote a letter and I rang her up and I said, Miss Saraf, Avinash Saraf, I'd like to come and meet you, and I'd like to do a program on this. She said, all right. So, no. Well, I first wrote to them, I got no response. I wrote a second letter, I got no response. Those were the days of letter writing. There was no email and no quick contact. Third time, I wrote and I said, I have been the winner of the Miss Young India title in 1971. My humility had kept me from mentioning this before. But that is what got me the attention, because I immediately got a letter saying, please come and meet me on so-and-so date, so-and-so time, bring your CV and let's talk. So sometimes it does pay to do a little bit of marketing for yourself and not be too humble. So when I showed her my pictures and I went there and I talked to her, also a lot of it matters when you are face to face rather than talking on telephone or emailing or letter writing. No matter how good your CV looks on a pad or on a paper, they do want to meet you sometimes to know how you communicate verbally. So after that, it was no looking back. So that black and white era continued for a long time. I did programs, presentations, and I also produced programs. I also produced full-length programs, like 7 days of shooting for a program called Women in the Hospitality Business, where I picked up women who were working in different departments in various hotels of the capital, chefs, front office, reception, housekeeping. There cannot be a hospitality business like hotels without the touch of a woman. So I picked that topic and we did shooting for 7 days. And those days shooting was on big reel. It wasn't digitized. We had to do shooting on the big reel. Sound was separate. We had to record the two, bring it to the, we didn't know what we had recorded. So if we do a recording once and we come to the studio, send it to the laboratory to get it developed, then we bring it to the editing table and we see what we have shot. We always used to shoot a little more than we required, because if what we wanted really wasn't there, then it's lost. And sound was separate those days. So the sound and the negative of the film that we had shot had to be matched and edited, that is cut and spliced and put together. And that is how a program was prepared, piece by piece. It was not an easy job. It was not an easy task, but it was enjoyable. All that hard work, when we finally saw it on the screen, the program as it went on the air, it was immensely satisfying. So the hard work was all behind us. So black and white era, those days, we had no film. I mean, we didn't have instant film. We had a lot of other problems. We had, sometimes when we used to go for shooting, the team that used to go with us, the sound recordist or the cameraman, the battery would go off because there was not enough battery, or we wanted to shoot a lot more. I mean, these were all interesting things, but we managed. We overcame all that. Then came the color era. Just as we went into color, in 1984, the Director General of Doordarshan at that time, Mr. Satish Gargji, you can see him in this photograph. He's there, if you can see my cursor. Can you? Okay. And that's me in the white coat. Well, that was a serial being made for the very first time by Doordarshan. It was on the lines of a Mexican television serial, and Doordarshan said, let's give it a try. And that was the only channel at that time. There was no other channel. You had to just sit through from 6 p.m. in the evening when it would start with the logo, and would come. Everyone would come, sit with the with their friends and, collect people from neighbors, because not everyone had a TV. And they would watch. It would begin with a short program, then Krishi Darshan. And it was a very popular program, Krishi Darshan, because everyone from the rural area wanted to see Krishi Darshan. And Mr. Raghunath Singh Chaudhary ji, who was the producer of Krishi Darshan, was the most popular person in the television center. And he has contributed in the book about himself and Krishi Darshan. And he's one of the 10 contributors in this book. So, Krishi Darshan, then followed by short singing programs, and then 9 o'clock was news, 8 o'clock was Hindi news, half an hour bulletin, and then 9 o'clock was the English news, and finally that was the end of the transmission. So this was going to be an experimental thing for television, for Doordarshan at that time. They wanted to make a serial, entertainment, kahani, fiction, and they copied it on the lines of a Mexican serial. And Satish Garg said, Manohar Shyam Joshi ji was the writer, and Satish Garg was the director. He says, we would like to have actors for this serial from the theatre. So they picked up people from the theatre world. There's Ashwini Kumar there, there's Seema Bhargav there. On the extreme left is the makeup man, Mr. Naresh Khare, who has also contributed for the book. He has written about makeup and how important it is on television to have the right makeup. Unfortunately, at a very young age, he passed away after contributing to the book. But what he has written is very valuable. So Satish, coming back to the serial, Satish Garg got these people from theatre and all that, and then I was approached and I was told, we need a slightly sophisticated, dignified, slightly anglicized kind of a doctor who is going to be the senior doctor in the hospital, and she's going to be kind of playing matchmaker between another junior doctor and another person working in the hospital. So you are Dr. Anita Kapoor. I said, I don't know how to act. मुझसे एक शब्द नहीं होता है acting का. For example, if you ask me, give me a dialogue of one word, say Ma. Ma. I can't do it because I'm not an actress. I'm not an actor. I am a television presenter. That brings me to an interesting thing here, which you might all find very interesting. I was called on later on to do the presentations in Hindi, English, and German also, because we had international crowd. Because I'm a German interpreter, I did German after my marriage. Learned it in the Maxwell Bhavan. So I was asked to come and do a presentation on stage for the International Film Festival of India. And there I was. And because, let me go back a little bit. On television those days, if we had to speak, like I'm speaking now, I'm speaking extempore. There is no script. There is no auto cue. There is no words coming in front on the camera. It was not there. There was no possibility. It didn't exist. So if I had to narrate a large passage or tell the viewers about a film, a regional film, the story of a regional film from South India that was to be relayed or to be telecast on screen, I had to memorize it by heart. So that was a big thing. So while makeup was being done in the studios, we are memorizing, literally like school students, repeating our lines over and over again as to what we are going to speak in front of the camera. For example, if I come in front of the camera and say, Namaskar, आइए आज के कार्यक्रम से आपको अवगत करा दें. आज के कार्यक्रम में सबसे पहले 7 बजे होगा ये, 7:30 बजे ये, 8 बजे ये, 8:15 बजे ये, उसके बाद 9 बजे ये, and then 10 बजे क्या? I've forgotten. You can't. You cannot make that faux pas on stage, on screen. Also, if I'm narrating a story to you and I'm telling you about the story Firstly, I had to get the accent and the pronunciation of the South Indian actors correctly, all of us. So that was another big, it was a tongue twister. So if I'm narrating a story of a Malayali film to you and telling you that Kadakaddam or whatever it is, and then the heroine did this, and then she went this, and the story goes like this, after which she loses her husband, and then she becomes a widow, and then there's remarriage. So the story had to be memorized. So that was a lesson we learned from Doordarshan, to have very good memories. Today also, if I read a passage, I remember a lot of it by heart, which is a good thing. So coming back to now, fast forward to the film festival. So at the film festival, when I was invited, there was this film star. I don't want to mention him. If he's watching this, he will know. There was this film star they had invited because the DG, Miss Urmila Gupta at that time, DG of the Directorate of Film Festivals, Ministry of INB, said, because it's a film festival, Sheila, we have you as as a competent compere and a person who can deliver, but we also have to have someone from the film world. So we have to have him. He's a star. He's a film star. Okay. So we are at the rehearsal one day before the actual program. We are at the rehearsal in City Fort Auditorium, and lights, podium, camera, action. First, kaun aayega, kya aayega. So everyone goes minute to minute is there. Everyone's following the minute to minute. So I go on stage because I'm opening. I'm the Hindi, by the way. I'm the official Hindi announcer, and I will say things in Hindi, and he will say things in English. He will speak in English. So there were the two of us. That is how the work was divided. So when I went on stage during the rehearsal, I said, Namaskar. दोस्तों, सितारे आसमां पर हैं, जमी पर भी सितारे हैं, अजीजों दोस्तों ये सब हमारे और तुम्हारे हैं. तो आइए आज हम आपको मिलवाने जा रहे हैं कुछ ऐसे सितारों से, some twinkling stars of the film world from all over the world, where you will meet and greet these people and enjoy their films. And I walked out with a flourish. Small bit, I walked out. He comes on. He says, Mera podium kahan hai? Podium, light. And then he's reading in English. And then later on he tells me, didn't you need the podium? Didn't you need the script? Didn't you need the light? I said, no, because it's all in my head. I have it memorized. Then he goes to Urmila ji and says, she comes to me and says, Sheila, you don't say the Hindi part because you're taking away the thunder. You don't speak in English. You speak only the Hindi part and leave. Because you spoke in English also. Leave the English to him. I said, he wants to have the plum. Thank God he knows that I'm better than him. So till today, that person is very much alive. And till today, Urmila Gupta and I have this smile on our faces when we meet each other and we talk about him. So when you have confidence, also once Dimple Kapadia was at another film festival, and I have a picture of her and me in the wings, where she was to light the lamp and not speak anything. She was to light the lamp and just be there on stage, and I was to introduce her and go. So I went on, introduced her Hindi, Angrezi, Urdu mein, and I came into the wings, and she says, ooh, that was great. You spoke so many languages, and without a script and without any prompter. I said, no, it's all in the head, thanks to Doordarshan. So Doordarshan taught us a lot. So now my foray into acting. Coming back to the serial, it was a serial that went on for many episodes. It was enjoyed. It was a family drama. Hum Log. It was called Hum Log. If you look it up, Google it today, you'll find lots of it. You may even find some episodes on this. I acted in 4 episodes. The first episode that was shot was the 7th one in which I acted, in which I was there as Dr. Anita Kapoor. And Mr. Satish Garg said, we want seasoned people who know where to look, who are familiar with the camera, We don't want somebody we have to train. That's why we are asking people from our presentation to be part of this. So that was very, well, shall I say, flattering to have been chosen. So that is about Hum Log. Being on television and the visibility that gave us a lot of fan mail. In fact, we used to get letters, postcards, inland letters, and they would all come to the desk. Television Center, TV Center, Parliament Street, and there were letters like this, bunches. Sometimes we had boxes. They would say, Sheila ji, there's your, आपके box में आज 50 letters हैं. Sarla ji, आपके box में. By the way, Sarla Maheshwari, my Hindi news reader colleague, has also written for the book. And unfortunately, she's very ill today. But I'm so glad and grateful to her that she was able to contribute to the book. And she's written about her experiences as well. So there were Sarla, Salma, Meenu, Gitanjali Iyer. Unfortunately, Gitanjali passed a year and a half ago, which is very sad. We were all very, very devastated to hear that one of our colleagues is no more. Niti Ravindran. These are all my colleagues, Hindi and English. Meenu Talwar, of course, very popular. She was a presenter and then later on newsreader. So being on television opened a lot of avenues and many doors for us, at least for me. And I got calls from various ministries to come and do their presentations in a very sober manner, international programs, heads of state and government, NAM, CHOGM, the international events that took place in Delhi. Also out of the capital, Calcutta, Mumbai, everywhere. So at one of the programs, when I was invited by Mr. Nana Chudasma, the late popular Mr. Nana Chudasma, Sheriff of Mumbai, then Bombay, he invited me from television. He saw me on television and he said, I'd like to invite you to be the compere for my Giants Awards that I give away in September every year. So I was sent a ticket. I came to Bombay. I stayed. I did the program for them. And for him, I got the minute to minute. And we are very professional, very thorough, because I go a lot into detail, get the details of the organization, and then you introduce the organization just like Ajay Hatangri did before this program. You talk about the program. Well, he was probably reading, but we were not allowed to read. That's the difference. We had to remember it, memorize it, and then say it all. Sorry. So, but at this event, I was there and I did a good job. I read out the citations of the award winners as they were given their awards. For the North Indians, I read it out in Hindi. For the South Indians, in English. And there, on the dais with me, along with Nana Chudasma and the one of the VIPs was a union cabinet minister. Nanaji, of course, was there. And there was Kalyanji Anandji, the film music directors. So when I spoke in all these languages, Kalyanji Bhai says, Tamne Gujarati avde che? I said, हाँ, सारी रीते आवड़े छे. And you're a Sindhi, so you must be speaking Sindhi too. I said, yes, I do. So you speak Hindi, Angrezi, Urdu, Sindhi, and Gujarati. Fine, we are going to Hong Kong in 2 months' time, in 2 weeks' time. Would you like to join us as compere? I said, Neki or Pooch Pooch, of course, I'll be there. So my first show, stage show, superstar stage show with Kalyanji Anandji and Viju Shah, who's a wizard on the keyboard. He was under his music direction. All the other musicians were there, and there were these film playback singers, Manhar Udhas, Sapna Mukherjee, Sadhna Sargam, Sonali Vajpayee, Johnny Lever, the comedian, and Sheila Chaman, the compere. I was there from Delhi, and I was not part of the film world, but I was embraced by them, and I became a part of them. So that was my test show that I did for them in Hong Kong. It went off very well. After that was this show that you're looking at on the screen. It says Kalyanji Anandji at the back, which was in South Africa. We were invited to South Africa by the Indian community there. They had not had any contact for 16 years with any Indian cultural organization. No song, no dance, and they were hungry for all that. They were hungry for Indian music. So we were invited, and when we went there, the admiration, adulation, affection, and the tumultuous welcome that we got. And we performed in 4 different cities, Johannesburg, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, and Pretoria. And Kalyanji Anandji were there. And of course, as you can see in the screen, on the screen, you can see there's Nitin Mukesh, there's Anandji Bhai, there's Sonali Vajpayee, there's Sapna Mukherjee, there's Sadhna Sargam. Let me put on my glasses. And there is Manar Udhas, there's Johnny Lever, and there's Nayan Rathore. These were all the people. And with us was Meenakshi Sheshadri, the only film star. And these were all the singers. It was amazing. They sang old songs, purane naghme, बीच में ऑफ लोग मांगते गए, लोग भेजते गए अपनी फरमाइश, उन फरमाइशों को पूरी करते गए हम. And I coined the word, the term Durbanese for Durbanites. We were in Durban, and everyone else just went and did their bit, sang, danced. I was the only one who interacted with the crowd. I spoke to them, I talked with them, and we created a rapport. It was amazing. It's an unforgettable thing, and thanks to Doordarshan, because I was on Doordarshan, I got this opportunity. After that, after the South Africa show, Kalyanji Anandji, along with Amitabh Bachchan, were invited to London. Amitabh Bachchan was invited to London, and Kalyanji Anandji were the music directors of the show, along with Viju Shah and his musicians and his set of singers. And Amit ji picked the film stars who were to be part of his show, which was called Jumma Chumma in London. He was the only film star, Indian film star, the first and only film star to have got an invitation to perform at the prestigious Wembley Stadium in London. And, Kalyanji Anandji told him, we have a new compere. It was earlier Tabassum, I was told. So Amitji said, yes, okay, let me see who this is. And I was invited to come from Delhi to Mumbai to meet him. I met with him. We just met very informally. And the next thing I know is I'm on. I'm going to be the compere for the Amitabh Bachchan Grand Show. Sorry. This picture was taken on during that show at the rehearsal. Immediately after the rehearsal, we were in our makeup rooms, shall I say, trailers. We had these trailers lined up behind the stage, and we were given numbers, as you can see on the right side. And I said, Amitji, can I get a picture with you, please? And that picture is a very memorable picture taken before the show, or it was just after the rehearsal, before the actual show which went on. Sorry. This show in London, Jumma Chumma in London, if you look for it on YouTube, you might find it, had Anupam Kher, Amir Khan, Sri Devi, Neelam Kothari, Salman was not there. Salman was there in the show before this. And all the singers, Manar Udhas, Sudesh Bhosle. Sudesh Bhosle is the voice of Amitabh Bachchan. All the songs that he was singing on stage himself, there was Sudesh Bhosle in the wings supporting him a little bit, plus all the songs, most of the songs that have been picturized on Amit ji have been sung by Sudesh Bhosle because he was the voice of Amitabh Bachchan, just as Mukesh was the voice of Raj Kapoor. So that came about, and it was an amazingly successful show. And his brother Ajitabh Bachchan Bunty was there also on stage during the interval because it was a charity show, and they contributed the proceeds of that show to charity, and a check was presented and all that. So all that went on very smoothly. Of course, I had to be the MC for it all. I was advised how to go about it, I was guided, but it went off very well. Once it went off well, oh, I have to tell you this. Now, after that, after that show in London, we did two shows in South Africa with Amitabh Bachchan this time. Earlier, the first show was with Kalyanji Anandji and singers and me. And then we went to Wembley with Amitabh Bachchan. After that, Amitabh Bachchan was invited to South Africa on 5th and 6th of January 1991. Those two shows were again, Govinda joined us there, joined the group there because there are a lot of Gujaratis in South Africa, and Govinda was so popular that Amit ji said, "Yeah, ये तो मुझसे ज़्यादा popular है यहाँ." And I mean, it was all in big joke, and they received him well, and Govinda ji in his all style went all out to entertain them. He danced, he sang, they had fun. So as you can see my graph, I'm on television, I've become a presenter, I've become an interviewer, I joined the news with great difficulty after failing two auditions for the news, which is in the book. I'd like you to read it from the book. How difficult it was for a presenter already on screen, already on television, to get to the news, because news was considered to be very elite, and the news bug had also got to me. And how I became a newsreader is a story in the book, which I'd like you to read. So as you can see, my graph is growing, and I'm now doing stage shows. Thanks to Doordarshan, I've been called. I'm doing stage shows, I'm doing star shows, and we've done Amitabh Bachchan in January in 1991. 13th July, 1991. Can I read it from the book for you? Okay, I will tell you. I'll tell you extempore. I remember it, of course, every bit. 13th July, as you can see, 1991. We were visiting privately. I was visiting with my family. We went on a pilgrimage to Shirdi. On way back, it was a cloudy day, not raining, but a cloudy day. We'd done the darshan. It was a Saturday. We were returning back in a Contessa car, which had a long nose. You know, the Contessa car those days had a long front and a shorter back. So we were coming back on the dirt road after the darshan. My family was at the back, and I was sitting right next to the driver's seat. I see this car coming from a distance, this white Maruti small car, and it's charging like a bullet. So I told the driver, "Bacho, be careful." So he moved to the left of the road, dirt road, slowed down almost to 10 kilometers per hour, very, very slowly. And as we moved to the left, this car came crashing into our front side. And before I knew it, I did this. My head was on the dashboard, and the windscreen had blown apart. All the glass was in my face, and I was just holding on to the face like this. I opened my eyes wide, and I could feel thick blood falling. I couldn't see a thing, and that's the day I realized that a blind man's world is not black, because black, like pink and purple and blue, is also a color. A blind man's world is pure white. because all I could see was white. I couldn't see anything. It was pure white with little stars, only round stars. And that feeling lasted for about 20-25 minutes. Finally, one good Samaritan picked us up, brought us to the, it's all in the book, brought us to Bombay Hospital. We stopped at Nasik in between to take me to a hospital, and there the doctor swabbed my face with antiseptic, but that was a wrong thing to do because the glass that was in my face, because of that swabbing, went in, and I lost this entire cheek. Well, that was much later, but that went in, and he put a tape on it, and then we went on ahead. And because we had requested the car through a friend in Bombay, we had to call him. He arranged for the best plastic surgeon he could find. Narendra Pandya ji was the best plastic surgeon at that time. He had also treated Sanjay Khan, the film star, from his fire injuries. But Narendra Pandya was out of the country at that time. So Dr. Suresh Tambekar was called. And by the time we landed in the rain at the doors of Bombay Hospital, we were told to come straight there. I was taken straight on a stretcher into the operation theater. The doctor looks at my face and says, "Can I have a picture of this lady, what she looked like before the accident?" So my kids gave him a picture of what I looked like because it was all taped up. So the tape was opened and he looked at my face. This forehead didn't exist because this skin was out and up. There was no cheek. It was all mashed up with glass, and I must have looked a horrible sight. However, he did an excellent job of stitching up the cheek from here to here, 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 here. And if I don't have makeup and if I don't have the right light, you can see the dips and stitches. And I was rather conscious about that on the screen afterwards. But the best part is, I didn't lose any, I didn't have any misplaced bones. Like no bones were broken. So the bones were intact and there was no disfiguration of the face. So after the microsurgery, plastic surgery was stitched, the face was stitched up, they used to put, as you can see, they used to put that micropore tape to keep it in place. And I couldn't chew anything. I couldn't talk. Because if I did, then all the stitches that were there would move and get broken. So I was there in Bombay Hospital, I was there for a good 15 days. I healed myself and got out. Later on, the doctors, Dr. Tambekar and the other plastic surgeons used to send their patients to me. Look, this girl, this lady, she's on television and she's back on the screen. Because as Naresh Khare has put in his contribution in the book, I used to carry my micropore tape and put the micropore tape over the stitches like that, put the makeup on that, and then go in front of the screen and do my bit and come away. He had to do the same. After I put the tape, he would then do the makeup. And it was my inner will that made me go back on the screen with those stitches and that faces. And after that, I lasted another 12 years on television after that. So that was another lesson. Never say die. Just keep your head up, be positive, and think positive, and you'll get where you want to go. This is one of off telecast. This was taken off telecast by a fan and sent to me while I was on the news. So he took a picture from the screen and sent it to me, one of my fan mail. And as you can see, this is how we looked like. We wore hardly any makeup, stud earrings, no danglers. It was an unspoken rule, no danglers, because then if you are reading the news, and those days there was no auto cue. We had pages in front of us. The pages were put on cardboard and given to us, and we had to read from the pages. Like I'm going to read. Last night, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi said that Mr. Narasimha Rao and he were having and I have to move the page to the next one. So firstly, I have to be very careful that I move the correct page. And I'm looking into the camera. I'm looking down, reading and speaking. Reading and speaking. So that was like a clutch and break. And you don't read like this, because then that's very distracting. So with great practice, we had to hold the pages below the screen, not like this, but below the screen, and read, and look up and speak it. Read and speak. So once, when I was on the news, it's in the book, you'll enjoy that part also. When I was reading, and we used to get pages suddenly, I got a page. The flow manager slips in the page to you while you're on the screen. And while the other person is reading, we were two of us, while the other person is reading, this page is slipped to you. So the page came and I'm reading. And then I'm speaking. So I'm reading and something says this is not right. Because what is written is Prime Minister Gyani Zail Singh. That's written on one line. Then there is triple space and it's written in bold. Then I'm going to the next line, blah, blah, blah. I said, Prime Minister Gyani Zail Singh? Ye nahi hai. This is not right. So instinctively, I can either change Prime Minister to President Gyani Zail Singh, or I say Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, because that time Prime Minister was Rajiv Gandhi and President was Gyani Zail Singh ji. The story was about them. So my gut instinct says, "Par lo President Gyani Zail Singh." So I'm reading. And President Gyani Zail Singh said that in the talks with him and the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, बाद में Rajiv Gandhi आया, Prime Minister आया, that was correct. Now, it could have been that the editor, who is the boss of the written word, the editor writes the story, gets the story written. It could have been that he could have dictated it wrong, jaldi jaldi mein, Prime Minister bol diya instead of President Gyani Zail Singh. Or the typist may have typed it wrong, because those days it was all typewritten and it would come on the pages typewritten. Or there was some error somewhere. But because the newsreader is reading, who gets the flack? Sheila Chaman ko 3 hafte ke liye suspend kar do. It's not my fault. I'm only reading what you've written for me. But it was up to us to have the knowledge and the wisdom and the wits about us to correct any mistake that we found. So once the bulletin was over, we came out and the producer patted me on the back. Arey Sheila ji, aapne mujhe bacha diya aaj. I said, aapko kya bachaya? Maine apne aap ko bachaya. You would have comfortably had a meeting the next morning, as you always do, post programs, and then say, Prime Minister Gyani Zail Singh, Sheila Chaman ne padha. Give her 3 weeks of suspension. That's not on. That's not my fault. But it was what was written on the page, which I didn't think was right. So that was another lesson, that you have to be alert, active, alive, agile, and know your current affairs. That was another lesson. That's about news. After that, in December 1999, when I was so-called a stalwart of different aspects of presentation, interviewing, news reading. Then I also sat for a test, an examination, and became a correspondent. And then I went with Prime Minister Vajpayee to Lahore. That I'll tell you later. But before that, I was invited to the Z studios to train their newscasters, some of who were already on news and some who were going to be on the news. They were training to be news readers. So I devised a 10-day program for them where I began with lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, where you read all these things from my experience. I talked to them, I told them, and I was training, giving them a training on how to be a captivating communicator on television. By the way, when you talk on television, you don't enunciate too much like I'm doing now when I'm talking, because otherwise you show your teeth and your gums. When you talk on television, you enunciate every word, but the lips don't move as much as they would if you were talking in person or on stage. That was one. Then breath. When you are reading and delivering on screen, I have this very sensitive microphone pinned to my blouse or to my shirt. And by the way, women always wore the national dress, the saris. The men wore band gala or shirt and tie or the national dress. It was never casual like it is today. Kuch bhi pehen lo, wear anything, come from the home, whatever is comfortable. There was no comfort. It was always well dressed. So now when I'm reading on the news, when I'm speaking on television, and I have to breathe. I can't breathe like this. Because then this very sensitive mic will pick up the breath. So we breathe from the nose quickly, take a breath in and read the sentence from the mouth. For example, last night Prime Minister Modi said that we as a nation should celebrate with great pomp and show the 77th Independence Republic Day that's coming up. And this, what you do with your nose, is very gentle. You don't hear it on the mic. That aha is when you will speak out your words. So it's very fine-tuned and with great experience. You have to speak, especially if you're reading the news. Nowadays, they read from the auto cue. You have the auto cue. You read from here to here like that, and you blink a little so that it doesn't look like you're reading from the camera, but it looks natural. It just comes naturally to you. But the breath has to be the same. You breathe in. And so, viewers, as we are going to go about this program, I would like to tell you that the next program that will come about is this. So that, and then I devised some mock drills for them, which is what you can see here. So today, I'm so proud and happy that almost all the anchors on every other channel that was a springboard from Doordarshan has one of my trained news persons there. For example, if you see extreme right, there's Rahul Kaval with the mic. This was a mock drill we were doing of doing a reporting from on the spot. On the extreme right is Rahul Kaval. Today he is CEO of NDTV. This is Monisha Oberoi. She is doing something very grand in Singapore. There's the cameraman. There's these two young ladies. They joined and left. There's Anurag Tomar, one of my favorite students. He was a good news reader, a news anchor with Z. This is Kranti Sambhav. He was doing the car show with NDTV. Sachin, this young lady, I forget her name, but she was doing programs for Sansad TV. Kishore Ajwani, I'm so proud of him. His diction, elocution, articulation, presentation is on dot, and he's on News 18. Then there is Sudhir Chaudhary here. He is today doing come back to where I started from. Today he does a program called Decode on Doordarshan every night at 9 o'clock. It's a news program. It's a very interesting program, newly thought of. Then there's Dinesh Gautam. He's on TV9. And there's another lady. She was an assistant. And there's me on the extreme left. So the training part, I was invited to train them. And some of them said, do you think, ma'am, we'll ever make it to the news? Make it. Today they are ruling the news. They are anchors. And today also when I send them a WhatsApp message, it's so gratifying and so satisfying to get a very respectful reply from them. Ma'am, your blessings. Ma'am, thank you. I mean, I really feel proud. And I think to have gratitude within you will take you places.
Sheila ji, I just want to be mindful of the time. We should leave 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So if
We
you'd
have
like
10
to,
minutes?
yes, we should. If we can wrap up in about 10 minutes, that would be nice. Then we can have some time for Q&A.
Excellent. All right. All right. So one day we were two news readers, two English news readers, two Hindi news readers. Both of us, all four of us were ladies. And fortunately, we were wearing color coordinated saris. It's all in the book. And we requested, after the makeup was done, we requested the makeup man. I always used to carry a camera. I'm a great person. I like to take pictures. I like to save the moment. And it's part of me. It's part of my journalistic instincts. So I said, let's take a picture. This picture was then developed. It was a negative picture. I gave a copy each to all my friends, to them. It's seen its way. It's wormed its way on the internet today, and it's doing the rounds. So there's on the extreme left, there's Sarla Maheshwari, there's Salma Sultan, there's me, Sheila Chaman, and Meenu Talwar. Meenu and I were on the English news. Salma and Sarla were doing the Hindi news that evening. This photograph is a memorable photograph, and today it's a photograph that's doing the rounds on the social media. Well, one of the things that, one of the openings that I got as a presenter on news was that the Ministry of Human Resource Development and the National Book Trust invited me to go to the World Book Fair in Germany, in Frankfurt, in 2006, and be an interpreter, come manager of the India Pavilion. At that time, in that year, India was the partner country at the book fair. And once I landed there, the Consul General had a list of people whom I had to train as girl guides and boys, take them on, give them various assignments, supervise them. And then, of course, there are events that happen. Every single publishing house was there under me, under my charge. Every single author, writer, poet from Northeast, the well-known lady authors from the Northeast, Shashi Tharoor, Javed Akhtar, Shobha De, the ones from North India, from South, East, West, everyone was there. And I had to organize special programs for them. Special sessions were laid out. So I had a lot of work, but I enjoyed it. And this picture is another memorable picture of that World Book Fair with me in the center in the yellow sari as the manager. Now, coming to the Lahore, February 1999, Prime Minister Vajpayee ji was going to Lahore. I was invited to be a media delegate with him. Very prestigious assignment. We went there and we had deliberations. Nawaz Sharif ji was the Prime Minister of Pakistan at that time, and our Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee. They had bilateral talks during the day, at the night, in the evening, at night at the banquet. I was sitting on one side, Tahira Said, daughter of Mallika Pukhraj, and on my left was Mallika Pukhraj. We were talking Hindi, Angrezi, Urdu mein, and then she said, "मैंने आपको TV में देखा है," because those days the even now, you can watch television, you can watch Indian television even there. So she said, I've watched you and all that. And then people said, Mallika ji, आप अपना वो नगमा गाइए, अपनी गजल गाइए, अभी तो मैं जवान हूँ. And then they said, you're here, you've done shows, please introduce her. So I had the honor and pleasure of introducing her to the audiences. मैंने एक आध शेर बोला, and she of course regaled the audiences with अभी तो मैं जवान हूँ. And next day, before we left, we were given a round of the Lahore Fort in Pakistan. It's like our Red Fort, the Lahore Fort. And during that trip, we had Kapil Dev, Devanand, lot of Kuldeep Nayyar ji, well-known journalists, film stars, and politicians and bureaucrats and all. So I was talking with Devanandji, and we got talking on some. He was a very intellectual person, very well read, very articulate, and if he was not a film star or an actor, he would probably have made a very good debater and I think a lawyer also, because tark vitark karna unko aata tha. He had that way of talking and coming to conclusions. So I was very impressed. And then this is one of those memorable pictures of that memorable moment. So my book, Doordarshan Diaries, The Golden Era of Television. It is published by Om Books. It's available online on Amazon. It's in bookstores in Mumbai and all over the country. And I'm very grateful and thankful to Om Books, Om Books International, who agreed to take my manuscript and put it out and bring out this book. And thank you all very much for your patience. I hope it wasn't long. I hope it wasn't boring. I hope you enjoyed this session.
Not at
Thank
all.
you.
I mean, thank you, Shiraji. I mean, before we start with the questions and comments, I mean, I just want to say that while many of us know Shiraji as the face of Doordarshan News, really, from the experiences that she recounted, her work clearly spans so much more. Multilingual, news presenter, MC, actor, producer. So very interesting. Um, I'll go back to the comments here. So Sandhya said nostalgia, smiley face there. Atisha had a question, and I don't know if this is covered in your book. It's about the logo, the first initial logo of Doordarshan. She said, interesting logo. Who designed it? Is there any, do you know anything about this?
It is. It is all in the book. But if
Okay.
for her, I will read it very quickly. The first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, launched Doordarshan, then known by the name Television India, as a pilot project at AIR studio in New Delhi on 15 September 1959. It initially broadcast only a single black and white transmission. And about the logo, she wants to know. On 1st April 76, Doordarshan separated from Akashvani and an independent directorate was constituted. It was presented before its audiences with a new image, the channel logo created by a team of students from the National Institute of Design, and a new signature tune composed by Pandit Ravi Shankar in association with Ustad Amjad Ali Khan. Thereafter, as the thereafter as the channel gained popularity owing to its role and its programs became more interesting, and by the early 80s, Doordarshan started becoming a major influence in Indian television.
Lovely.
Sorry, it's in the book.
Okay, so I can see why Manisha Mali said if we could play some iconic tunes. So I get why the tunes are so interesting. I mean, great musicians created it and wonderful design from NID. So let me ask you this. I mean, I had this question and Atharva asked something along similar lines, which is when you look back at your early days in Doordarshan, I guess what surprised you the most about how the institution and the medium eventually evolved? And let me add in Atharva's question, which I'm paraphrasing here. Doordarshan once had, a captive audience. Everyone tuned in at the same time. Everyone watched the same thing. Now people watch what they want when they want on various, these OTT platforms, whether it's Netflix, Prime, or whether Amazon or whatever. How does Doordarshan survive in this world? Same, it goes to the question of evolution. Uh, and I believe that their own streaming platform, that Waves OTT, uh, is that the right move? Does it need to do more? How are people watching news today? How is Doordarshan reacting to this? Any thoughts on that?
It's a well-known fact that Doordarshan, whatever it telecasts, news, whatever it speaks, says, talks, tells, is authentic. It's credibility tested, tried and tested, confirmed, unlike other channels where they rush to say something and then regret later on. I mean, if it's not true. Doordarshan doesn't do that, which is why the credibility of this government run, government owned channel, so to say, still holds good. If I want authentic news, I will still listen to Doordarshan, though, as you mentioned, its quality may not be so attractive to people because people these days are looking at hype, the tantalizing, titillating, shouting, and I don't understand why you have to say, और आज इसने इतने लोग मारे गए वहां. The same thing I would say it on Doordarshan if I were reading. And the accident took place and there were 16 people dead. I mean, honestly, 16 people passed, or they unfortunately this happened. You have to just tell the news as it is without any hype. I don't understand why the hype on television and the makeup that the girls wear today is would put a film star to shame. You don't have to. You don't have to put eyelashes, false eyelashes on news. You don't have to open your hair and let it out here. And you don't have to have your sari like this. We made sure that, let me tell you, we made sure that we had one pin here, one pin here, and one pin at the back. And Salma even went to the extent of having another pallu here because she says I didn't have matching blouses, so she would have a V. You are soberly delivering the news without attracting attention to yourself, to your face, to your lips, to your earrings, to your hairstyle. You are not a film star. You are not there to do a fashion show. Coming to Doordarshan, they are, I'm a little appalled now that Doordarshan is trying to be in competition, and in that race, it has lost some of, it's losing some of its credible shine and the staid, steady, normal, dignified manner of presentation where news is sacrosanct. News is serious business. It is to be told as it is. It's a fact to be conveyed, not masala to be added.
Yeah.
Now they have Doordarshan has now started a program. I mean, they've started many other programs, and they are. Firstly, I would always sit like this on. I mean, you sit in a very composed manner. Other channels, people are sitting like this and like this, and the stance is like this. This is very casual. It's like, chalo yaar, news bol rahe hain. You know, if your stance is not correct, then I'm losing interest in your. I mean, I'm not sure that what you're delivering is has any authentication, or it's credible.
Mm.
So Doordarshan is losing some of its so-called credibility because it's trying to compete with the other channels. It's coming out with shows where they are reprimanding and chiding people who are on their show as guests, and also they're wearing anything and everything. आप हिंदी न्यूज़ पढ़ रहे हैं सूट कोट पहनकर. I can't understand that. I mean, if you're reading Hindi news and you're speaking the news in Hindi, तो आप कम से कम साड़ी पहनिए. You're wearing a fancy, suited, booted, three-piece set. It's like as I would when I held my workshops. It's in the book. I held media workshops for people who wanted to be on television because we were thrown into the water and told how to swim and learned how to swim. We learned on the job. So I started a slight training program twice a year with Mr. Ajit Panja, the INB minister's blessings, the then INB minister. And I said, I'd like to train people who want to be on television. He said, yeah, sure, that'll be a great help. So the first thing I told them was that you can't just be there. You have to have a little bit of training, fine tuning, softness, credibility. So, well, today they have started also. Sudhir Chaudhary, who has been a leading anchor with various channels, he's doing a program called Decode at 9 p.m. on Doordarshan, which is a sort of a different kind of presentation. It's not the staid, steady, somber, sober kind of delivery, but it has credibility. It's credible. It brings you the news as it is.
So picking on that point, right? I mean, what is it that separates someone who merely speaks well from someone who's really credible and compelling?
Well, I can tell if if I'm watching the news on various channels. In fact, on my television, I don't watch anything else. I don't watch any serials. I have news from one channel, channel 1 to 22, all news, all channels, from all angles. Why I listen to news on other channels is perspective. One channel will say Vajpayee meets Karan Singh in the polls. Same thing is said. Karan Singh will take on Mr. Vajpayee in the upcoming elections. Glass is half full, glass is half empty. Same thing, put in a different manner. So when you see the news from various channels, various perspectives, various angles, firstly, you then decide which is the channel you want to watch, which is the anchor you like, which is the anchor who you think is most credible, which is the what shall I say, the choice of words, the editor, the person who writes the bulletin, what is written, how it's conveyed. All this makes a big difference. I mean, there are certain channels, they may be very hi-fi, but if I find the anchor is it doesn't reek of credibility, or the choice of words is not what I expect it to be, not how a news should be, I don't watch that channel. So I'm
Right.
sure a lot of people who watch news today, serials are a different thing. I don't watch serials, so I really can't say who's watching what. And there are a lot of reality shows. For example, on Sony, they have reality show called Indian Idol, and there are a lot of good singers they pick up from small states, small places. That's good because that's promoting culture, Indian culture. But that's about it. So news has to be credible,
Right.
basically, delivered properly, delivered in the right manner. Your choice of clothes, your hair, your makeup, the way you come across, it all counts.
So just some comments here again. Namita says, such interesting tidbits. Thank you, ma'am. Um, I think Atharva was basically saying, I believe on coming Monday, everyone will surely tune into Doordarshan for your Republic Day parade. You talked about Hum Log and comment on that from Jay Raman says, most of us from the 70s and 80s will surely remember not just Hum Log, but every character from that series. Uh, she also had a question, which is the book that you're referring to, which now clearly is Doordarshan Diaries on screen behind you,
Doordarshan
Sheila.
Diaries, the golden era of
Yes.
television. It's
Yeah.
available on Amazon. It's
Right.
available at bookstores. You can, if you order one today, Doordarshan Diaries, you look up Amazon.in, you'll get it within 2 days.
So one final question from my end. Looking back over the past several decades, which part of your career gives you the deepest sort of sense of quiet satisfaction?
The most satisfying part was being on television. And we never took work as work. It was not work. And we were all freelancers, by the way. None of us is an employee, except Salma and
Right.
Minu. They were the only two employees, one Hindi newsreader, one English newsreader. They are employees, they were employees, they retired, they have a pension. We all, we all went, we worked for pittance. Bulletin padha 4 ghante. For a bulletin to be that went on the air at 9 o'clock, reporting time was 5 o'clock. You go report at the news desk, you go tell the producer, you tell the editor. Then after that, you go match with the video editor, you match the films, you make sure everything is right, you go and get your lighting checked, and then you're on the news. Good evening. And you look your best. You may have a stomach ache, you may have a problem at home. You leave all that behind and you're just there. And it was enjoyable. We enjoyed our work. And at the end of it, you come out, there's a call waiting for you. DG साहब कह रहे ये ठीक नहीं था, वो ठीक नहीं था. Once I even said, it's in the book. Once I even said, यार ये लोग, they sit in air-conditioned rooms and find faults with us. Please tell him to read one bulletin flawlessly on air, live. And he heard it. The next day, I was hauled up for it. But I was speaking a fact. It's not easy. So you go to the news desk, you collect your check of 150 rupees, or maximum 250 it became then. Every bulletin gave us first 75 rupees, then 150, then 250, and finally 500. We were the most poorly paid people for the maximum amount of hourly work that we put in. But the exposure that it got us, because of the visibility, the programs that I got, the film star shows, the stage shows, the ministry shows, the private organization shows, programs that we got to do, was because of Doordarshan. So we are all what we are because of Doordarshan.
Well, Shiraji, thank you. You've given us insights into an era of broadcasting, the craft of journalism, and a very interesting life, really, that extends far beyond the newsroom. So, for those of us who grew up with your voice, this has really been very special. So, please join me in thanking Sheila Chaman for this excellent talk today. Thank you. And
Thank you so much, Ajay, and thank you so much, Khaki Labs.
thank you. And for the rest of you who've been watching this today, thank you for dialing in. And we look forward to having you on future episodes. Thanks so
Namaskar.
much and good evening.
Thank you.